Daylight in the mountains is a liar. It burns away the fog. It warms the wooden porches. It makes you believe that whatever frightened you in the dark was just your imagination. And men are so eager to believe they are safe. The next morning, Ajay sat alone on the wooden porch of the cottage, a cup of hot tea in his hands. The bitter arguments with Rasika from the previous days felt distant, muffled, like they belonged to a past life. He stared into the tree line, thinking about the sweet drink, thinking about the red eyes at the window, thinking about her. Ajay turned. Mohini was standing at the edge of the porch steps. No sound of footsteps on the gravel. She was simply there. Dressed in a bright yellow sari that caught the morning sun. Her hair falling in heavy dark waves. And that scent, jasmine, cutting right through the crisp mountain air. She didn't wait to be invited up. She stepped onto the porch, moving slowly, deliberately. She stood close, too close for a neighbor, close enough that Ajay could feel the strange, intense heat radiating from her skin. He should have stepped back. He didn't. Ajay tried to act like a man in control. He kept his voice low, asking her about the shadow at the glass the night before. He demanded to know if she had been watching them in the dark. Mohini did not blink. A slow, devastating smile spread across her lips. She took one half step closer. She reached out, her fingers coming to rest lightly on his shoulder. Her touch was burning hot through his shirt. And then she whispered her answer, not as an apology, but as a confession. She told him she wasn't just watching him last night. She said she had been looking at him for a very, very long time. And right then, the trap didn't close with fear. It closed with vanity. Ajay didn't feel hunted. Under the weight of her hand, he felt chosen. He felt flattered. He leaned into her touch, ready to speak. The spell snapped. Rasika stepped out onto the porch, still dressed in her night clothes. She froze, her eyes darting between Ajay's flushed face and the woman standing entirely too close to her husband. Mohini's hand dropped. She stepped back instantly. The seductress vanished. The polite neighbor returned. Her voice was bright, ringing like a bell, as she asked if the cottage had stayed warm enough for them. Then she extended her invitation. She told them the mountains were lonely. She insisted they come to her large home for dinner the following evening so she could properly welcome them to the woods. And they accepted. Of course they did. Politeness is the easiest way to walk into the dark. But that night, the cottage didn't feel safe to Rasika. Rasika lay in bed, tossing in the dark. Ajay was asleep beside her, heavy, unmoving. Then she heard it, a soft whisper from the living room. Rasika opened her eyes. She couldn't move her arms. She couldn't sit up. A heavy, unseen weight pressed down on her chest. From the bedroom door, she could see the glow of the dying fireplace in the living room. And in front of the fire, shadows. Two silhouettes standing entirely too close. The yellow sari was draped over Ajay's shoulder. Her shadow fell heavy across his face. Mohini kissed him. But she wasn't looking at him. She was looking over his shoulder, looking straight down the dark hallway, straight into Rasika's paralyzed, terrified eyes. Mohini smiled against his skin. Rasika tried to scream. Her lungs burned. Nothing came out. The scent of jasmine flooded the bedroom, so thick she was choking on it. Morning light hit Rasika's face. She shot up in bed, gasping, drenched in cold sweat. The room was empty. Ajay was sleeping peacefully beside her. The wind outside was quiet. Rasika rubbed her eyes, her heart hammering against her ribs. She told herself it was just a dream, a nightmare brought on by the strange drink and the cold air. She pushed herself out of bed and walked out to the living room. The fire was dead, just grey ashes. Everything was exactly where they left it. She let out a long, shaky breath. Just paranoia. But as she turned to walk back to the bedroom, there, resting perfectly on the edge of Ajay's favorite armchair, was a single, fresh, white jasmine flower. Tomorrow night, they are going to her house for dinner. And Rasika will learn that some nightmares do not end when you open your eyes. If this story held your attention, leave a like. Subscribe to The Velvet Witch. If you wish to hear what happens when they knock on Mohini's door, tell me. If you found that flower, would you have packed your bags? Or would you have convinced yourself it was just the wind? Because in these woods, once she marks what is hers, she never lets it go.